Hello, and thank you for joining the Champion Within podcast, your premier go-to spot for unlocking your winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete looking to elevate your game to the next level, a coach leading the charge, an enthusiastic parent cheering from the sidelines, or an educator molding young minds, the Champion Within podcast episodes are packed with value, sharing the tools and strategies to unlock your potential and rise to new heights. Hosted by mentor, coach, and mindset leader Kate McCauley. Let's sit back and enjoy today's episode while discovering your champion within. And now, here's Kate.
Do you not know how to read? Do you not read at home? These two questions popped out of my son's mouth this past week during class as another student was reading. When his teacher called to let me know that this spilled out of his mouth during his English class, my jaw dropped to the floor because my son has a uniquely beautiful brain. He has dyslexia, ADHD, auditory processing, has a speech delay, although you wouldn't know it at this point. We consider these things gifts. We always talk to my son about his gifts, his learning differences as gifts. And when I say always, we do that now. When he was in preschool, kindergarten, first grade, there was a lot of tears on my end because I didn't know how he was going to navigate the world. I read a book called ADHD, The Gift, and it changed everything for me and every single person that comes into contact with my son. That includes his team of teachers, his family, anyone who has coached him athletically. Now he's involved in stage crew and different things within his school. If you know my son, you know that he has a uniquely beautiful brain because we talk about it. His siblings know. He would bring in books to elementary school and share it with his classmates. We've always been very open about it. However, that does not mean that everyone else is the same way when they have a learning disability. They don't always call it learning differences. They definitely are not always saying it's a gift because let's be honest, these gifts come with challenges. It doesn't mean when we open dyslexia as a gift that we're like, woohoo, yay, this is amazing. No, it means we can see the world through his perspective in a different way because he decodes things differently and has to use his brain in a unique way. He is forced to see things differently than someone who is not dyslexic, someone who does not navigate ADHD. Nobody else is the same as him. We're all that way. There's no one who is the same as you. Sure, maybe some other people have similar characteristics. My son's not the only person with dyslexia, ADHD, auditory processing, but his unique combination of these learning differences and the way that we have leaned into it as a family and his team of teachers have is unique because each individual is unique. I like to remind my children, everyone I work with, that if we were all the same, life would be incredibly boring, right? When I heard this from his teacher, I was shocked because I was thinking, wait a minute, why would he ever say this to a classmate? Because we openly talk about how it is difficult for him to learn to read and decode some words. And as he's getting older, writing things out, it's a challenge. It takes him a little bit longer. And we've openly talked about how he can do tough things. He's done it before. He's cracked the code of dyslexia with reading programs and mindset. So I was completely shocked. As the teacher and I continued to talk, it was clear, and she had already known this, that he wasn't saying those things to be hurtful. He was legitimately asking, do you know how to read? Do you read at home? Do you practice these things? However, the classmate didn't take it that way. She closed the book and she became upset, obviously. People's words are powerful. When they finished the class, this teacher did an amazing job and she allowed these two to talk to each other, my son and this other student. First talking to that student that was upset, making sure it was okay. She really wanted my son to understand the perspective of how the other person could perceive his words. And she wanted to give him an opportunity to apologize and for both of them to just talk. As she brought them together and was talking about, tone is everything and your words can mean a lot to people, the other students started to say, I really felt uncomfortable. I didn't want to read anymore, but we always usually work together great as a group. They work in small groups. My son Ryan jumped in by saying, maybe you're dyslexic. And he followed up with, I'm only saying that because I'm dyslexic and I know the signs. And the teacher said, she was like, oh, no. We're not going to start telling our classmates, maybe you're dyslexic. And I realized, okay, I know what's happening here because this has happened with ADHD before. If somebody's moving slow to get to our car, he's like, maybe they have ADHD. And I'll have to say, possibly. We don't know. We're not a doctor. We're not their parent. It's not our place to tell them. He thought he was being helpful, thinking maybe if you looked at it in a different way, you could crack the code. It is a gift, but it can be challenging too. I know that's what he was thinking. And I talked to him later on the car ride home, and when we got home, he definitely reinforced that without me saying it first. He said, I was trying to be helpful. I really was. I was not coming at it as a place of you aren't smart. I was really thinking maybe I could help in that situation. After he was able to speak with the teacher, his classmate, and then me at home, I told him that we needed to do some things just to talk about how we could do this going forward. We were talking about the power of a pause and how you need to take a breath before you just blurt things out, because the way you say something, someone else could take it totally different. We each take things in and perceive it in our own unique way. I shared with him that when he and his siblings, who are pretty close in age, were little, if I was out at a store, Target, food store somewhere, and an older person would come up to me, which this often did happen, especially when the kids were very little, they would give unsolicited advice and say things to me. You should do this. You should do that. Oh, why are you buying that? What's going on with this one? And let me tell you, my youngest, he gave us a run for the money everywhere. He's a totally different kid now, but when he was in those early years, when he could just start walking, when he was a toddler, it was all eyes and hands on deck because you just didn't know what was going to happen. I did not want, and I still do not want, unsolicited advice. I gave him that example so that he could understand we shouldn't just give people advice about their reading. To do that to a classmate or to a stranger in Target or people in general, it doesn't usually land well. It's different if someone says to you, hey, what do you think about this? Then by all means, buddy, go ahead and you can talk with your classmate about it. I was very careful to tell him, though, that I don't want him to stay quiet about his dyslexia, for example, or ADHD, that it is completely okay for him to say, I have dyslexia, it's hard for me sometimes, or I have ADHD, focusing can be difficult. It's a challenge. This is what I do. If in discussion and appropriate with his classmates, with friends, with teachers, he should continue to talk about that and be an advocate, because you just never know in the situation if somebody doesn't know that about him, for example, or if they're having a discussion and someone else needs to hear that, that's fine, but he cannot by any means tell another student, you might be dyslexic, or, hey, maybe you should try this, because we are all on our unique journey. He is not the teacher. He is not evaluating anyone for anything. He's not a doctor. It's just not appropriate. He gets it. He felt terrible that this classmate felt upset or embarrassed. And when I explained that something like that could stay with a person, they may not want to read again. Next time they're doing something in front of a group, that could pop up for them and stay with them. I explained it was really important for him to focus on that power of the pause and to take a breath. I gave him a tool that I use with my clients in workshops. I do this with people in business, athletes. It's really simple. It's an acronym, WAIT, W-A-I-T. It stands for Why Am I Talking? We often think that we should jump in and say something with our kids, our students, coach to athlete, leader in a business with the staff. There are times where you have to say something. Don't get me wrong there. However, many times people just need to get it out and they're just talking. WAIT, wait, is a great thing to use to remind yourself of that power of the pause. Why am I talking? Does this person just want to vent? Do they actually have questions that they need me to answer? I don't need to solve everything for everyone else. This is a big problem. One of the first things I tell coaches, parents is let them fail. And they look at me like I'm crazy. As long as they're safe, let them fail, let them learn. You can't solve everything for them, or they'll never be able to do it by themselves. As much as my son wanted to help his classmate in that situation, it was disrespectful. It was really belittling to her. And when he heard from her point of view, from the teacher, and then me explaining it a little deeper, he then finally realized it. We've been focusing on focus so that he can stay on task, get done what he needs to get done as he's getting ready to go to high school next year. He really wants less staff involvement. He wants to take ownership and do it on his own. I'm proud of him for that. But it's something he has to retrain his brain for, because he, since second grade, has had support heavily throughout academic. He needs to retrain his brain to be able to do this on his own. And we're doing that through the guided visualization, EFT, self-talk, all the things. I told him during the guided visualization, I'm going to weave in the power of pausing. WAIT, why am I talking? He really had a great experience. We reflected afterwards. When we were finished, I said, I want you to write this classmate a short note apologizing again for your words, because they can hold power. And he was not happy with me at all about this. He said, I don't need to do that face to face. I apologize to her. Then I talked to the teacher. I've talked to you about it. You can ask them. You don't believe me? I said, I do believe that you apologized, and I'm proud of you for doing that. However, in that situation with your classmate, I love that that classmate was willing to have that conversation and that the teacher facilitated that to let you two speak to each other. But there's a chance that that classmate of yours was putting on a strong face and saying, okay, sounds good. I hope we can work together in the future. I'm not upset about it now. I appreciate the apology for a couple reasons. The teacher's standing right there. She doesn't want to sit in this embarrassment and stay miserable. So that maybe the kid is thinking, all right, let me just say this so we can move through. But we don't really know how that landed with her. So sometimes writing it out, in addition to hearing it, is just another layer of the apology that is necessary. And it can be a little more specific. I am sorry for, and be specific. What you learned from it, and what you hope for her, and what you are going to change in the future, how you've learned and are planning to grow from this. Short little note, like 4 sentences. I told him it's nothing long. He was reluctant, but he did it. And when he finished, he said, you know what? You're right. Maybe she'll go back and read this if she is having a bad day. She might not even remember my apology because it was after class, everything had happened, and I really do feel bad about it. So he did it. I emailed the teacher and said he's got this note in his binder just so he doesn't forget. The teacher emailed me at the end of the day and said, yes, he did give the note. He got it out at the start of class, gave it to his classmate. That classmate told her, as the teacher, not in front of my son, but just between them, that was really nice. This is a lesson that he learned, the power of a pause and how to apologize correctly, because that's important. Your words hold power. So today I want you to steal WAIT. Wait. You don't have to jump in and talk right away. For you, share it with your kids, your students, your athletes, the people you work with, and use it. Remember the power of the pause, and that your words hold a lot of power. Thanks for jumping in to join me on Speedy Sunday. Go crush your week ahead. Rooting for you always.
Thank you for hanging out with Kate today. And whether you're going to coach, teach, cheer from the sidelines, or hitting the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show for the latest episodes, as we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and sanity in our busy lives. Now, go and unleash your champion within you, one step at a time. We're always rooting for you.